And welcome, Courtney. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm fine, except for the technical difficulties that you and I have kind of ran through this
Yep.
morning. I've it's funny because I work a lot with technology, and then whenever something goes wrong, I just kind of shake my head and think that it was all a big mistake.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, thanks for answering my call to get some podcast guests. The purpose of this is to, I'm interested in people that left religion, but I'm not necessarily limited to that. But really the focus is just to think about asking questions that maybe we never asked before, and anybody who's ever left religion, particularly, or maybe even like some other group that they were part of, they probably had to ask a lot of questions before they got to that point where they were ready. But you said that you were raised in the Mormon faith, and so I thought we'd talk a little bit about that. So why don't you tell me, tell me about growing up. Where'd you grow up, and what was that like?
Yeah, so I grew up in Washington State, about an hour-ish outside of Seattle. Uh, Both sides of my family, have been Mormon since literally forever, since, like, Joseph Smith was born,
Yeah,
essentially. Um, so I come from a very, very long line of, devoted Mormons. Um My family, I feel like with my generation, like with me and my cousins, people are starting to actually like leave now. But yeah, that's
yeah.
yeah.
And so for me, like I was raised Southern Baptist, which is a Protestant denomination, and as I was raised, all Mormons were evil, of course, but so was everybody
Yeah.
else. So it's fine. uh, but now I would consider Mormonism to be just another part of Christianity. So I look at it differently now that I'm not an active believer. So for me, like whenever I became a Christian, that was a thing where you say the prayer and you ask Jesus to come into your heart, and then I was wondering what the process was for someone who's Mormon. What checks the box off that says, okay, now I'm in.
So in Mormonism, you don't really get like saved, which is sounds like that's what you're describing.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So like if you're born in the religion, which I was, you would get like your baby blessing. And that will get your name essentially on the records.
Okay.
And then you don't get baptized until you're 8. Um, and so once you're officially baptized, then you're like officially a member. So
Yeah.
people who are raised in the faith get baptized at 8. People who are converts typically get baptized later than that.
Okay. Do you get a card?
Yeah, yeah, you actually do. I think
Oh,
I
really?
actually still yeah, yeah, I think I still have mine. My mom did a bunch of, like, scrapbooking and stuff, and I'm pretty sure I still have, like, my, baptism records in there.
Yeah. So, okay, so you get baptized, and then were you 8 then that you went through that then?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Um, Looking back, do you go, "Man, I really didn't know what I was doing." Do you think about that?
Um, yeah, I mean, like, I know in some, like, Christian denominations, like, baptism happens when you're, like, a baby,
Yeah.
essentially,
Yeah.
and I think being a little bit older is better, but I really did not fully understand the history of the religion. I hadn't processed my own, like, religious trauma until
Mhm.
I was in my mid-20s, and then it took me essentially threatening to sue the church to get my name taken off the church records, so
There's something to unpack there.
yeah.
We'll get that. We'll get to that in a little in a few minutes. So what was it like growing up? Were you surrounded by others, or were you kind of isolated uh, in the same faith? That is.
Like, kind of both, like, the area I grew up in is part of like the Mormon corridor, like
Okay.
from yeah, so like from Washington, Idaho, Montana down to Utah,
Hmm.
there's a lot of Mormons.
Well, I live
Oh,
not far from the Garden of Eden.
oh, really?
Yeah, so I live in Kansas City, and the Garden of Eden, as my understanding is that it's in Independence, Missouri, um,
It is.
which,
So,
if you've ever been there, you might think
I mean,
differently, but
I've driven through Kansas, but I
yeah.
haven't really spent time there.
Okay, so you're part of the Mormon corridor, and then
Mhm.
what was it like to be Mormon growing up in like your middle school and high school years? I mean, because it's
Not
so hard.
fun.
Yeah.
Not fun because I kind of feel like I was always a little bit of a black sheep
Hmm.
with growing up in a religion like that, where it was very, uh, patriarchal. Um, like, I grew up in a family of all sisters, like, even our pets were all female, so, um going to like youth group and other activities where the entire lesson for the girls was how to be a good wife, how to be a good mother,
Oh,
and then the boys would get to like go play like basketball and do like fun stuff that kids should be doing.
yeah.
So
Oh,
like that already irritated me.
yeah. It's kind
And
of like they're setting you up for here's the rest of your life. We're going to get started early.
ex-
Um,
exactly. And I remember someone in my age group asked about like college, like, like why isn't that being, pushed more like for us? And our youth group leader essentially said, well, you typically go to college to find a husband, like you don't really go to get an education.
hmm.
And like I was raised to like getting an education, whether that's like college or trade school past high school,
Yeah,
was a requirement, like mandatory in my family that you further your education. So
yeah,
that was already red flags for me.
yeah. Speaking of that, what was your relationship with your parents like when it comes to your faith?
Um, now, honestly, like I don't think my dad is like a true blue Mormon believer, like really at all.
Hmm.
I think he's kind of just become comfortable,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's easier to go along with it. My mom definitely is very much a like full believer in the church. When I came out essentially and
No,
saying,
I get it. I get it completely. What
yeah,
you
like
yeah.
I'm getting my name officially removed from church records. Like I'm no longer a member. I am officially denouncing my faith.
Hmm.
Mom cried and cried and cried, and she said it felt like someone had like died.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I mean, that was a good 10 years ago.
Yeah,
Me and my mom are very close now.
good.
Um, yeah, so I mean, I think I got lucky in the fact that I'm still very close with my parents, but they kind of had to do their own like grieving process.
I I think you're right. Honestly, there are plenty of people in their stories where it doesn't matter. You say coming out. That's a very apt description. I think that was something that my oldest daughter, after I started figuring out that, like, oh, I don't think I believe this anymore, which was about a year ago. I went on a walk with her, and I'm like, hey, I want to talk to you about something, and told her told her this, and she's like, oh wow, that's like coming out, and I'm like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
sure, yes, yeah, I never really thought about it that way. So yeah, I get that. And then, so my parents are deceased, so I don't have, I don't have that ability to have that conversation, which is probably good. And then in some ways I kind of wish I could, so,
Yeah.
um, so mom's true believer, dad kind of riding the fence. Would you, was there a degree of strictness growing up, as a Mormon?
Yes. So I very much felt like being Mormon was more about what you looked like, what kind of appearance that you like showed to the world. Like there was definitely more of a focus on how you dressed, how you looked, how you presented yourself versus being a good person. You
Right.
know, like there were so many lessons on, like the really toxic sexual purity, like, lessons on not getting tattoos, not having piercings, but like nothing about being an actual good person, nothing about
Right.
following Jesus's like teachings or anything like that.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's it's good to hear that purity culture, transfers over a multitude of denominations. Whenever I was growing up, there was like these big conferences they would have called True Love Waits,
Oh yeah.
and just so many kids learning about things that I don't know. I think a better approach is to just be open and honest about things, because I don't know if you know this, but kids have sex. And by kids, I
Yeah.
mean older teens is what I mean by that. So, yeah, and I think it leads people down a path to even where they don't know things. Whenever you get to be an adult, I mean, I've known some Christian men that didn't know about things. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, "Oh, that's interesting." So
Yeah,
so
and I think I probably would have made a lot better choices, like, if I hadn't grown up in a religion that essentially made it seem like getting married, finding a husband was the best and most important thing I ever could have done.
mhm.
So, yeah.
I'm gonna disagree that is, and I think you do too. So, okay, so you go through, middle school awkwardness, high school years, still kinda dealing with that stuff. What happens after high school?
Well, I get married right after high school, to not a great person. Mm, I got married at 19, which I don't recommend to anybody. Yeah, but, my home life wasn't the greatest, and I was just so desperate to, like, leave
Uh-huh.
that, you know, I didn't know what to look for in, like, a relationship. Like, what is a healthy relationship? What's an abusive relationship? Like, when you're raised for your entire life
Yeah.
of, you know, getting married and being a wife is the most important thing, even though I knew it wasn't, those lessons still get in your brain.
Yep.
Yeah.
They call that indoctrination. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is it's kind of funny that, I didn't really fully grasp the concept of indoctrination until you come out, you wake up, you start realizing a lot of things that how important it is, for instance, to get, kids started. Um, there's this concept called the 4 to 14-year window where, well, you wanna get them between the years of ages 4 and 14, so that way to lay a foundation. That's how it's put.
Mhm.
What about like theology? Did you have to study a lot of theology? Or is that more of a male thing? I hate to even say that, but
So we did. So we had to go to seminary,
uh-huh.
which for us was before school
Okay.
in Utah and other like uh high population of Mormon states.
Yeah.
It'll actually be like a class in high school.
Uh-huh.
But for us, it was before school, so we had to get up really, really early, and then each year was something different. So it would be like the Bible or the Book of Mormon or Doctrine and Covenants or whatever, and
Uh-huh.
we go through the theology that way. But I'm not gonna lie, the Book of Mormon is so boring. Like it is not it's not written well, okay? It's boring.
Copy at one point. because I used to live in Lawrence, Kansas, which is a big college town, home of the Jayhawks, if you know who they are. And whenever, because it was a college town, there would always be missionaries that would come through because, they got to get their training and get their experience, and they'd come to the door. And at one point, I had a Book of Mormon. I think I tried to read a little bit of it, and it was just foreign to me, and I was much younger then, so I probably will get another one and go ahead and devour it. Because that's it's a bit ironic that now that I'm out of it, I'm a lot more interested in it because now I see it for what it is. I feel that just
Yeah.
religion in general is this thing that mankind concocted to try to explain the world that they didn't really understand.
Mhm.
And so with that in mind, religion in a lot of ways fascinates me because it means so many different things to everyone. You even if you find, I don't know if this is the case for you, but like for me, if you were to find two, like I was, like I said, raised Southern Baptist, find a couple Southern Baptists, they're going to agree on most everything, and then they're going to have a couple of differences here and there. And is it like that in the Mormon faith? Like, is
I mean,
there
I'm
schisms between
still I'm
churches?
still learning about how different Mormonism is compared to other like Christian denominations.
Hmm.
Um, like, growing up Mormon, how, you go to, the highest level of heaven because for Mormons there's three levels of heaven, and
Nice.
depending on how you lived your life, like what um covenants you made and things, like basically how you lived your life is where you're going to be placed.
Right.
And that's not how it is for everyone else. So, like, I've gone to other Christian churches, like with my friends and stuff, and I've never felt like anything fit, you know? Like, just for example, one of my friends she went to, honestly, like a mega church, like a super mega Christian church.
Oh, yeah.
And, I don't remember exactly what the lesson was about, but essentially it was like, you have to be saved to go to heaven. And I was talking to her after, and I was like, "So, let's just say, theoretically, if I never believe in Jesus or God or whatever, but I live, like, a perfect life, I can never go to heaven. But someone who's, like, you know, an awful person can, on their deathbed, accept Jesus into their life and go to heaven? Like, that's what you're telling me?" And she goes, "Yeah."
Mhm.
I was like, I just don't think this is for me."
Yeah, yeah, this kinda messed up, yeah. That's absolutely true. That is a firmly held belief that on your deathbed, if you, at the last moment, quote, unquote, "see the light," yeah, that is the belief. So, and then they justify that by saying, "Yeah, whenever you get to heaven, you'll be surprised who's there," and I'm like, "Yeah, I bet I will now." I mean, now that I think about that. So,
Right? It's just like, do I wanna be there with those
yeah,
people?
right, exactly. That's my response today. I'm like, man, there's some people now that I don't want to spend the rest of my eternity with you at all. So that sounds more like hell to me. Um, is there a concept of hell in Mormonism?
Kind of. It's called outer darkness,
Okay,
and
sounds cool.
yeah, yeah, I mean, yeah, it does. But the way I was taught was that you only go there if you have a perfect understanding of, like, the gospel, and
Okay.
you deny it. So
Oh, I see. So
Judas
true.
is there, but, like,
Okay. So,
Hitler is not there, is how it was
oh,
explained to me. So
because his understanding was imperfect, I'm sure. So,
yeah, I guess. I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, so your marriage didn't sound too great. Was he a good Mormon man?
No.
No.
No. Are you kidding me? No, I had already, like, quit going by that
Oh,
time.
okay.
I quit going when I was, like, 16 or 17.
Oh, okay. And so, well, I think that that's fascinating because to be that young, because of what I was talking about with that young indoctrination, I think it's harder to pull away whenever you're younger, uh, particularly because there's that prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that deals with like cognitive, you know, questioning, reasoning, that kind of things. It's not really fully formed until you're 25, I think, for humans.
Yeah.
Um, so what uh, what caused you to do that? I mean, you got a mom that's really into it. You're 16, 17 years old, you know, and just deciding this isn't for me. What do you think was the biggest driver in making you go, I'm not going to do this anymore? Besides, I mean, was it salvation? Was it the purity culture? Was a little bit everything? What do you think?
Um, I think it was a little bit of everything, but I think the biggest thing was that I had a lot of friends outside of the church, whereas my siblings didn't.
Okay.
And I think just being exposed to different kinds of people, who had different, religions, different lives, etc. Um, was probably the biggest thing that helped me, you know, learn and develop I guess the ability to be able to see things from someone else's point of view.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a big help to be able to have someone show you a different angle to the thing that you've looked at for most of your life. That's very helpful.
Yeah.
Um, you mentioned religious trauma. Let's unpack that a little bit because I too I don't think you leave any religion if you were in it for a, a decent amount of time without having some sort of trauma. So, um, is this something that you've sought out therapy for or anything like that?
Uh, yes. Quite a lot of therapy, actually.
Yeah, no shame in that at all.
Yeah. So, you know, the Mormon church places so much emphasis on sexual purity to the point where it is like damaging. And that was something that was for me very damaging uh mentally.
Yeah. Are you? I'm making a judgment here based upon what I see in society, which is not always accurate. But is it fair to say, in your opinion, that women are looked at as basically baby factories?
Yes. Because I would say the Mormon religion, you can get to the highest level of heaven unless you're married in the temple and unless you've had kids. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's well, I'm sorry, you're out. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. That's kind of what it is like.
yeah, well, I wonder how they handle people that can't have children or have a hard time conceiving because that's certainly a very real problem.
Um, I just from the people that I know, um, they'll encourage like adoption and things like that.
Hmm. Well, I could see that. That's good. That gets you kind of it's like getting a fast pass
Yeah, right.
for a roller coaster ride. Um, and what about like today? Are you still doing therapy for that stuff?
I mean, it definitely is a part of like just my own personal like traumas.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, we've all got
but
something.
like I wouldn't say I'm necessarily directly working on that in therapy, but it does come up here and there.
Yeah, I I go. I'm not in therapy now, but I did do it after I left because I felt just very kind of lost and which is the opposite of saved. Um,
Yeah.
but I felt disconnected because for me, a lot of my social, just friends and third spaces, that type of stuff, was a lot involved in a church, and so to leave, you kind of have to start all over. And that sucks, but
Oh, yeah, 100%.
yeah. Um, but me, well, and I guess, also for, where you came from, there's a bit of a evangelical, aspect of going out and spreading the word. But now I'm kind of the other way. I'm like, hey, if you're searching, I just want you to know that you don't have to do this alone like I did. My method was more about books and listening to podcasts and YouTube videos. And so I do am open to talking to people that are looking to find a way out, so that way they can ask those questions. Because whenever you're in the circle, you're only going to get the answers that the circle allows you to have. And whenever
Yeah, exactly.
you know, um, tell me, I've heard there's a trick that if somebody comes to your door, that if you just tell them that you're an apostate, that they'll just leave you alone. Is that true?
I have not actually tried that because I live in the South now, and we don't really get a lot of Mormons, so
Oh,
I
yeah.
have not had the opportunity to try that out.
Yeah. Well, what state do you live in?
I live in North Carolina now.
North Carolina. Okay. So yeah, I could see that because it's often said that your religion is pretty much just an accident of geography. So
Yeah.
you know, if you were born in, say, oh, I don't know, Israel, you know,
Right.
you'd probably be Jewish. Um,
Exactly.
and then if you were born in Saudi Arabia, you'd probably be Muslim. And then if you're here, it could be in the United States. It could be, I mean, it's a crapshoot, but then it gets to be very regional to where I'm sure you're surrounded by Protestant churches
Yes.
everywhere you go in North Carolina. And then, but then you go to Utah, and I think, isn't it like 90% Mormon or something?
Something like that, like,
Yeah.
pretty much everyone is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy high. So, um, yeah, the trauma thing I think is so important to try to unpack, just so that way you can try to get on a path to a healthy life and somewhat normal. And I think, but you're always going to have some levels of PTSD. Like I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I was telling him that I read the Bible with one of my kids because I want her to be prepared for when somebody comes and tries to say something, and she already has plenty of like, I don't think this is true,
Yeah.
so um do you ever find moments, is there something for you, oh, and for him that was triggering, like from whenever I said reading through the Bible, he was like, oh, there's no way I could open that book again. So do you find any holdovers from your young years where you're like, oh, you hear about it and it kind of slightly makes you kind of grit your teeth a little bit?
Yes. So how the way people talk during general conference, so they have it, like, twice a year, and it's the prophet and the general authorities and, like, the head honchos of the church giving talks. But the way they talk is so it has a specific cadence, and I don't know how to describe it, but it's if I hear someone talk like that, I can, like, feel it
Yeah,
in my bones.
you can identify it,
Yeah,
and yeah. Uh,
yeah.
I'm trying to pull this up real quick. I follow some people on social networks, and some of them are former Mormons. I'm trying to find the list here. If I find it, I'll put it on the website. But um, where they talk about some of their beliefs. There's one woman that she talks a lot and she ties it into purity culture too. And I'm glad we had this conversation, so that way I could make the connection between what's really going on there. Um, and how does that make you feel about the world today? Because it's so terrible to be associated with a very natural act such as, I don't know, just, two human beings getting together consensually and you know doing
Right.
doing something that's normal and natural versus, this whole thing about like you're evil, you're bad. um I don't know, it's jarring, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think just assigning, like, morality to a natural, like, desire and urge is wrong, you know? It definitely can cause a lot of issues. I mean, I've had multiple lessons on, not being a licked cupcake because, if you have sex, then you're now a licked cupcake and
A lick
everyone else
cupcake.
yeah, no, I am not joking. So now everyone else who sleeps with you is now licking your cupcake. So
I see. Yeah. I'm gonna make
but
that into a sticker.
the thing is though, we got those lessons. I'm pretty sure the boys didn't.
So you think there would no, you're not implying that, sure, that there was a double standard.
Well, I am.
Yeah. Yeah. I have girls, so
Yeah.
I see it and it drives me crazy. And um so you probably got out before you had to do any kind of going door to door type stuff, because I've met young women that are doing missionary work as well.
Yeah. So for women, it's not really required necessarily.
Mhm.
Um, for the men, it's not really required either, but it's strongly encouraged. Like I know for us as young women, we had lessons on making sure that we dated returned missionaries who had a good mission. So there's a lot of pressure to serve a good mission, like if you're a young man.
Yeah. What defines a good mission?
Going and finishing it out and not, coming back early.
Oh, not coming back early. Oh, is there, like,
Yeah.
you mean like people like burn out and be like, no, I'm done.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, I've heard some absolute horror stories from people in the mission field, and I know my cousin came home early from his, but he's also gay, so I think that probably had a
Yeah.
huge part to do with that.
I'm presuming that's not accepted.
No. No, I mean, okay, so they say it's accepted, but you just can't date or, like, act on those feelings,
Right.
but
Yeah.
it's fine for you to be gay, you just can't actually be gay.
Yeah, you just can't act on it.
Yeah.
Even though, if you come from reading some of Jesus's teachings, it was like, well, even if you think about it, then it's the same as doing it, which, by the way, I would
Exactly.
disagree. I would,
Yeah.
based upon road rage feelings, I would disagree that thinking about it is the same as doing it. Be-
Yeah, me
you
too.
know, so, oh yeah, that would be very traumatic. And um, I have a question, and I don't want to be insensitive when I say this. So, if you want to yell at me, that's cool, and I'll just scrap everything. Uh, but the way you contacted me, you had an individual in your picture, and it looked kind of lovey-dovey. And I was wondering if is that someone you're with now?
Yes, that's my boyfriend.
Okay, because it's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, but interracial things are not terribly permitted in Mormonism. Do you think is that accurate or
In
not?
the past, it hasn't been. Now it's really not that big of a deal.
Okay.
However, that might be more of a regional thing.
Hmm.
Um, but there's no, like, actual rule or anything,
Yeah.
like, against interracial relationships.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of also, it's one of those things where it's obvious that the churches, not just yours or mine, but yeah, all of them do kind of change as society realizes, like, hey, maybe we were wrong being so having those attitudes about that
Y
in the past,
yeah.
and so the church, I think, gets to the point where it's like, phew, we either take a hard stance and and realistically run our church out of a shopping mall somewhere because no one wants to come, or we have to adapt so we can continue this endeavor. And because I had the similar thing, that was something that was kind of told but not told, and I don't even have a great way to explain that. And maybe,
Yeah, I mean, the church was definitely later than they should have been. I mean, like, being too late was too late no matter what, but, like, they were later than a lot of other churches were with, um, accepting people who are not white into the, fellowship.
yeah. Well, your boyfriend's got a great head of hair, so tell him I'm jealous. So,
He does. That is the first thing I noticed about him was his hair, so
yeah. So, what's life like for you now? You said you went to some other churches. Do you latch on to some sort of idea of spirituality, or do you think it's all bunk? I don't know. What are your beliefs these days?
I would say I'm pretty much an atheist at this point. Like, I do, like, tarot readings, but I don't consider it, um, like, a spiritual thing. For
Right.
me, it's more of a, "Oh, this is, jump-starting something in my memory that I may not have thought of."
Yeah.
So that's more of how I use it,
Plus, the art's
but
cool, right? I
y
mean,
yeah, exactly.
I, you look at those tarot cards, and I'm like, man, these look pretty cool. But that was totally off limits, of course,
Yeah.
for me. That Ouija
But
boards,
yeah, besides that, like, I would say I'm pretty much atheist.
yeah. And how many tattoos do you have these days?
Oh god, probably 30 or 40.
Awesome. I love it. I got my first one last year, and
Oh, really?
yeah, and I am nearing 50. I'm not there yet, but yeah, it took, because that was ingrained into me. It was like, oh, tattoo's bad. Drinking alcohol was also bad. Um, you know, that was, I mean, I've had some conversations with people that I know really, really closely. You might say we're related. I won't say by blood or any, I'll just leave it at that. But where they're like, well, we can't go into that store because they sell alcohol. And I'm like, what? Good
So it's like
luck.
they can't go into, like, any grocery stores?
Well, so that depends. Here in no, you would have to make an exception for that, right? Which is all religion is just continually making exceptions and moving the goalposts on things. But like Kansas doesn't. That's um, where that conversation happened. There, liquor in grocery stores isn't like a big deal. They tend to have their own separate liquor stores. Whereas now I live in Missouri, and Missouri has a lot of things. We have weed. We have really all the liquor that you want in a grocery store. So, but of course, over time, that person also changed as well. Why? Because it's impossible to keep up with that. Because you can't even go into a convenience store that there's. I don't know. It's something you say at the moment, and in your head, if you believe that way, it makes sense only for that moment. And then you have to face the reality of like, listen, I mean, where do I draw the line at this? Can I not go to CVS because they have alcohol in the cough medicine? It it's yeah, well, it's traumatic for them, and they
Yeah.
don't know it. Um, but anyway, so now you're living your life. Got a bunch of tattoos, and
Yep.
it sounds like you're on a healthy path to just living, which
Yeah,
is,
I mean, I'm trying, so
yeah. That's great. And what if someone came to you, they found out, they're like, oh, so you used to be Mormon, you were raised in it, and then you left it. What would you say to them to have them ask the questions to engage their mind to the point that at least they're thinking about it with from every angle.
I'd probably give them resources versus telling them to ask questions because I know in my experience, when I did ask questions, I didn't get answers. I
Yeah.
got lies or just people straight up being like, "Well, we just don't know in this life," and I just don't accept that.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. Is there a particular resource that you'd send them to? Anything that comes to mind?
yes, I cannot remember the name, but it's like letters to my wife or something like that. Like this man wrote essentially this huge essay, cross referencing everything in the Book of Mormon and essentially disproving pretty much all of it. And I read it after I'd left the church, so, like, I already knew that I didn't believe in it, but reading it after, made me pretty upset because I was just like, "Wow, I did not even understand how much I had been, like, lied to
Yeah.
and how much of this history was, like, completely whitewashed and man-washed," you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I found it. You're spot on. It's letter for my wife.com. And then you can download a PDF. There's an audiobook, but yes, it has different sections. So talking about the early church and discontinued practices, which we were just talking
Yeah.
about, touching around, and then the Book of Mormon, the Book of Abraham. I don't know that one, so that's new. And then the modern church uh, then has a conclusion. So cool. I will, whenever I get all this set up, I'll put a link out there so that way other people can check it out. And like you, after I left it, I was able to look at some resources that I never gave myself permission to look at before. It wouldn't have even crossed my mind. And even before we started recording, I was looking for your email to shoot you a quick one just to say I'm having some issues. And I don't know why there was only two results. Like I did a search in my mail program, and another one was something about an atheist but I looked and the date was like 2009, which I was definitely a believer then. And so I think it was a email forward that it was like, oh, ha, ha, atheist, blah, 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 you know.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to have to go back and look at that later and see what it says and how I think about it now. Because I definitely am atheist. Uh, so like you, it's interesting to go back and look at these things after you've stepped out of the box.
Yeah.
So, well, this has been great. I really appreciate it and enjoyed the conversation. I like hearing about things that I know a little less about. And then now all you did was just give me a link to go find out even more. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, of course.
That's great. Well, anything else you want to chat about?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Well, that works for me. I was kind of hoping to keep these under an hour if possible. But you just never know. So I think we're at perfect time. This is awesome. All right. Well, there's only one other thing I was going to ask you that I forgot to ask you at the beginning. What kind of music are you into?
Kind of everything, but mostly like rap and rock and metal.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Today is I don't know if you heard of the band Everclear. Like kind of
Oh,
older.
yeah, of course I
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. They're playing tonight. So the wife and I we're gonna go and pretend like we're young again.
Oh, yeah, there you
Uh, yeah.
go.
So, but anyway, all right. Well, you have a good rest of the weekend, and I'll ping you whenever this is coming up. So, like I said, I got to get a couple of them in the can, so that way I'm not doing these one at a time. It helps to have a little bit of a
Yeah.
buffer. So, okay. Well, thank you, Courtney.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Goodbye.
Bye.